Yeah, people seem to love that. Maybe they just love to hate Ziggler.
Yeah, and Bill Goldberg towards the end was like, after the match, was waffling to himself like, "I'm back, I'm back." I was like, "Oh God, is he back proper?" I mean, that's the thing. I think it's good having him around because I do think like he would help them with the ratings at the moment, especially. But do you have him keep squashing the current guys? That's the only problem. Like, where is the payoff? And, otherwise you've got Brock Lesnar and Goldberg sort of like at two ends at the moment. So I kind of feel like Goldberg does have a role if he wants it, but it's just got to be done properly. Because don't forget, this match was like, a minute and a half. I don't think you can really have Goldberg doing lengthy matches. We see that in his first run with WWE, which was a disaster, I think, to many people because the matches were just going on too long. So I think they've got to be quick, but it's all right against sort of jobbers. But I feel like I want to see him put somebody over at the end, like Kevin Owens, like repay the favour for what he did a couple of years ago. So there is that potential. Okay, to rate this one, incredibly difficult because it was 1 minute and a half, but obviously match quality, there's nothing to really talk about. But because it did get a reaction, I will give this because it's basically a Bill Goldberg match, isn't it? I'll give this a 3 just because it hit what it was supposed to better than I thought it was. I think it could have been a disaster. Was a bit too short for my liking, but I think it got the reaction it was supposed to do, even though Bill kept coming back and whatever. What can you score this at, Matt? And will you score it?
I'm tempted to give it a star for every minute it lasted. But for me, I'll be generous. I'll say 2 stars because, just like you said, it got the reaction that it deserved, and it did set up for future things. Like perhaps we will see more Goldberg, and I'm not fully against that. It just needs to be the right opponent for me.
Absolutely. So moving on, Matt, to the next match. What have we got here? Next one. Scroll down.
Let's find out what's next on the list, shall we?
There we go. Sorry, guys. Next up was AJ Styles, the champion with his new group, the OC, who all come out in matching clothing tonight. It was a bit different. Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, up against Ricochet, that looked like some sort of gaming console chair. I thought that's what he looked like, my old gaming
For me,
chair. I don't know what that look was.
I thought he was trying to pay some tribute to Nightwing, perhaps.
I don't know. I've got a feeling in the back of my mind here, Matt, that probably a toy going to come out of this very soon.
Yeah, more than likely.
There's a good marketing way, I think. I mean, this is like, I like it, but then kind of think of Nakamura. I'm like, every time I see Nakamura looking the way he does, I think Flash Funk. I don't know what it is, but that costume's like, oh man, it looks like freaking Honky Tonk or something. What is he doing? Interesting that AJ in this match, I felt like Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows did a hell of a job of being the heel outsiders because they were getting on my nerves because to me it was like, I want to see these two have a great match, but they can't do it because these two guys keep interfering. So I felt like they'd done their job as a sort of heel unit in what they're trying to get across here. I didn't really have a problem with that. I know a lot of people said they were a little bit let down because they were expecting this 5-star match, but I don't know. AJ goes sort of over. He defeats him, Matt, with, of course, the help of the 2 others. I mean, I don't think it totally damages Ricochet, but Matt, I know you said on the preview you thought like Ricochet had to win this one. What do you think that does for him? I mean, is this the end of that, or are they going to go for another match?
Well, I got to believe it's the end of that feud.
Yeah.
But there are other avenues for Ricochet to go down, and AJ having the title is not the worst thing. When the ratings aren't that great, he is a good guy to have with a title, so that will be good for them, I guess, because with the other members of the OC having the tag team titles, perhaps they're finally going to make this a credible stable, and that is something that they do need. And hopefully, it can get other teams over eventually. We're still eagerly awaiting the arrival of Undisputed Era at some point. I mean, that kind of feud would be amazing. So if they can keep these things going, it's just about longevity. So I am looking forward to that. But as regards to Ricochet, I'm sure he'll be fine. He's got the talent. And from what we've seen throughout previous weeks, he's got a little bit of Paul Heyman's support as well. So, things should be okay for the guy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Would you rate that, Mike?
For me, probably the match I enjoyed the most so far. I would say 3.5 from me. I did enjoy the finish. I thought that was quite creative.
Yeah, I'll give this 3.5 as well for me on that one. So yeah, still United States champion AJ Styles with the OC, of course. Now this next match was a bit flat for me. I felt like the fans weren't really into this at this point, which was a bit of a shame. But Bayley up against Ember Moon, was it ever going to be anything more than that, really, Matt? Because I felt sorry for both of them, because this title, I mean, I kind of feel like this is the one that nobody seems to care about, and it's the other one that everything's in at the moment, all the equity and everything. Is this... I mean, what do you think about this as Bayley being champion? I mean, what does she need? Does she need better opponents, or is it her character? Whose fault is this? Is this WWE's just not doing a good enough job?
I think everyone just saw it for what it was at this point. Just another stop along the road of Bayley's title run.
Right.
And yeah, never really any threat of her losing it. And that's no discredit to Ember, because she's a great wrestler. It's just she's not the one that's going to define this title reign. Bayley's still looking for that opponent that can bring out the best in her, and they can actually do decent storylines. I don't think the story coming into this was the greatest either. But yeah, when she came in and she did her pose in the ring and everything, I was so surprised just to see no reaction. And for WWE to turn someone who had so much support from the fans and could do no wrong into this now, which is just someone that just doesn't generate anything from the crowd, that's incredible to me. And she does deserve more than that, but they really need to find the right opponent for her, and it's definitely not Ember.
No, I totally agree with you there. It was a very flat outing. Just to let everybody know, Bayley performed the Bayley to belly from the top rope, and she retained the title. But it was just a bit of a sort of a nothing throwaway match. I felt like for a SummerSlam title match, it was a bit. But I don't know if this is just a case of just having too many titles, and this was the one that got the bad rub off of because of the way it was presented. But a bit of a shame, I think, for Bayley. We know how good she can be at her heights, but I just feel like they don't really care as much for the SmackDown one, if I'm honest. I just don't think it's there. That match went 10 minutes. Okay, before we move on, guys, don't forget, we've got a new email address now, so we're no longer using Gmail. We've now got simply this. It's email at wrestleline.co.uk. So that's email the word, not as in email and then this is it, because I've got to try and explain that as best as I can. Email at wrestleline.co.uk. That is where you can get a hold of us now. It's very easy. Send in all your questions or any proposals or what you thought of the shows. Just get in contact. And I know a few of you already have. Jimbo. So yeah, easy access for him. Anyone that is still emailing the old one, don't worry, we still have that open for the time being. That'll still be around probably September, that'll close, so do not fear. Okay, moving on. This one, Shane O'Mac. Oh, sorry, we got to rate that last one. We didn't rate it, did we? I'm giving that a 2. I'm going to give that 2, but Bayley match, but that's me being generous. But I
feel like I'm being generous. I'm going to give it 2.5 because they didn't do anything wrong. It's just the chemistry was so wrong. So 2.5.
Fair enough. So next match, Kevin Owens KO himself with the stipulation, which was really stupid, by the way. I didn't enjoy that at all. It was silly. If Owens lost, he'd quit WWE, even though he's just signed a contract that we all know about. I mean, that's the daft thing, isn't it? It's all like public, and they just told us he signed a new contract. But yeah, this was up in the air. This was horrible. Shane McMahon, some of the stuff he was putting in last night was some of the worst. Some of the little punches he was doing, I mean, it just looked terrible. And when Kevin Owens come out down the ramp, like his entrance, I just thought, damn, I used to look at this guy as like a tough, you don't want to mess with guy, and now all of a sudden he's like 50-50 almost with Shane. And the only stuff you come to watch Shane do, which is like Rusev quoted ages ago, stuntman, he didn't even do that anyway. So it was like you got a loss with Shane last night. And obviously I'm happy Kevin won, but I knew he would. I'm just hoping that is this just the end of the Shane McMahon part for now, or is this just gonna be another part to go even further with it? I have no idea. But what did you make of that match, Matt?
Well, I'm going to start by saying I can't see that being the end of it. I mean, we've seen so much of Shane lately. Do you think that he's going to go out and lost like that? No, I can't see that happening. But, there's a thing called strong style. I don't know what Shane's style is. It's soft style. Those punches were so weak. The kicks were weak. It all looked awful. I don't know what happened to him that night. I mean, yeah, he's not usually the greatest, but on that night he was particularly bad. So I'm not going to say that he's the best in the world because, that's his thing and that's a real overstatement. But Kevin Owens, he did look okay. It seemed to be more about Elias to me, which is amazing because he doesn't really get that much time to shine these days. He was on the pre-show, did a little bit of his shtick on that, but apart from that, I'm surprised they even had him out there, and not a Drew in sight. What's that guy? How did he miss SummerSlam? That's the crime in itself, and he should have been part of this match at least. But yeah, not to be. So for me, this match pretty bad. In fact, like you, didn't like the stipulation to it. Thought it was pointless, and the fact that Shane didn't reciprocate on that meant that we all knew who the winner was going to be as well, probably, even though I did kind of get an inkling as we did the preview that Shane might have won this because that just creates another story where we'd be dragged through this for another number of months, which I'm quite glad it didn't happen in the end actually. But for me, I didn't enjoy it. 2.5 from me, I guess.
2 from me. I couldn't stand it, and I just think Kevin Owens deserves much better than this. And I know where they're trying to go with it, but I just, it didn't have anything. Yeah, and you're right, Drew McIntyre as well. There's a few reports of his frustration as well coming out. Some reports coming out about that earlier in the day about him not being involved and not having a match even. Goes to show, I mean, there were a lot of guys missing. Nakamura was another, what has happened to that guy? It's not great. So, only 2 from me for that one. Okay, next match, which was Charlotte Flair up against Trish Stratus, a match that we said on the pre-show, Matt, on our preview that we thought would, almost like generations colliding. You compared it to Hogan and Rock sort of status. What did you talk about this one first, Matt? What did you make of it and what we got in the end, the result, of watching this match? Was it as good as you thought it was?
Yeah, probably the match I was most looking forward to on the night. So when it came around, I thought it was perfectly placed on the card as well. Gave Trish quite a late showing, or sort of about midway, and fair enough. It keeps people interested around that time. And I felt like they had good chemistry in that ring, and they worked well together. I mean, I'm not sure how much time they had to hash things out between the two of them before the whole thing came together, but it all felt very natural. So I was very surprised. And even though Trish hasn't had a singles match in about 8 years or so, she just took to it like a natural again. So it does kind of show that even at a time when women's wrestling wasn't that great, Trish was a real standout competitor. So I'm glad she got to have that one last great match. And even the science inside the match, when you look into it in depth, was pretty good and well thought out as well. Trish going for the figure 4 was a nice standout moment. And then when she tried the bridge, of course it wasn't going to work. Charlotte has much longer legs. That's why you get that leverage when she does it. So it made a lot of sense in those kind of instances. So I did quite enjoy this, I would say. So for me, probably now at this point, my favourite match of the night. So I feel like for me, it's hard to judge. I want to go high on the rating, but I feel it's a 4, at least a 4, I'd say.
This was my favourite match of the night. Easy. It was easy to pick this one, and I really enjoyed it. And like you say, Trish did not miss a beat for me, and Yeah, people talk about that era as being not a great time for women's wrestling. I get it wasn't sort of taken seriously as sort of the athletic style, but you can't tell me that some of those women back then, Stacey Keebler and Tori Wilson, like they were mega stars back then. And I remember we actually reviewed like WrestleMania 19, and we was watching Jazz, Trish, and I can't remember the third person. It might have been Victoria. And I was quite surprised the reaction they were getting that night, and it kind of made me feel like maybe I've just got this weird image